Okay, thank you everyone. You can go back to your seats. You can go back to your seats. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, sir. She was calling for your attention. You guys are not talking. Thank you everyone. So I'm going to start off with you, sir. Tell me one thing you learned about him, what he said. What's his shoe size?
We have a budget to discuss shoe size, so just catch up with
okay.
Yes,
so what did you catch up on? It's not for our ears.
Possibly.
Oh, he said possibly. This was supposed to. I told you I wanted to tell me. Yes, it's official. What did you talk about?
Okay.
What's his name?
Mr. Johnson.
So that part you don't want us to hear. All right, sir. One thing you learned about him. What did you say? Okay, that's something you don't want us to hear.
No, we were just catching up on Mrs. Quickie, just to see how she was.
Hey, thank you. I know I heard Anthony at some point. Who is Anthony?
So he works at Anthony campus. I used to work at Anthony campus.
Oh, see, that was a great pairing. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. I met with Kate. Kate, not Katie. Kate. And Kate actually was up at 5 o'clock this morning, feeling a bit tired, a bit apprehensive about the day ahead, but she has brought all her energy. She's here in person, ready for the day.
She's energized. Thank you so much.
Well, good morning, everybody. So fortunately for me, I'm sitting beside my coach and we
You guys cheated.
It's the same alphabet. So basically, we didn't have to do the what's your name, but I totally understood today or found out today that she wears a size 42. So I told her that's very fantastic. I can always come because I wear a size 42.
My next birthday.
My next birthday is 21st of.
There you go, birthday gift.
Okay, yes, so I met Folake, and Folake is my mentee and Fuchi. And of course, we got talking about her shoe size, 42, and she actually mentioned that the reason why she's here is to broaden her horizon. She just wants to become a better person. And that was it.
Wait, it looked more than that. I saw two of you. You were going on and on and on and on. She even had to come and stop you from talking.
Good morning, everyone. I met with Mrs. Clara. She's the devotee head of a school. She said she loved the online training and she hoped to get more.
So you were online and you were outside. All right, there you go.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. All right, so I met with Miss Sarah. She's she consults for schools, and then she also works for an NGO. She expects so much from today's extension.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everybody. So I paired with Miss Eunice, and I think Miss Eunice told me she studied educational psychology and master's level, and I happen to love educational psychology as well. So I guess we're a team.
Morning, everyone. Okay, I spoke with Robinson. Yes, he couldn't say more because the microphone, according to him, your mic was too loud for him to actually express himself. But I was able to gather that he came from Lekki Axis and we got here around 8 a.m. this morning. Thank you.
That's good feedback. So, am I the one to lower my voice or they should lower this device? Thank you very much. Noted. Miss Eunice.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Yes, I've heard with Fatima, and I found out that she is an education enthusiast. She also has a master's in education. Yeah, and she's an early childhood educator. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. Okay, so our first speaker will be coming on stage in the next 1 minute. But just so you know what to expect today, we would have, at this point, Mr. Bossman, we don't need to do the welcome address anymore. So we're just going to get into the first item, which is assessing 21st century skills beyond traditional metrics. That will be delivered by Robin Davies. He is head of primary, Charterhouse, Lagos. Ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome Robin Davies.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Alright, so I'm going to actually just repeat a little bit of that exercise, just because if today is all about assessments, the first thing I need to do is know my audience. So I know some shoe sizes, and what I'm questioning is the purpose or the validity of that for my conversation, which is about assessment. In order for me to talk about assessment, I need to know where you are working and to contextualize. Otherwise, I may be just talking below your level, or above your level, or on a completely different plane of existence altogether. So in a minute, I'm going to ask you some questions just to get going. Is there a clicker? So I need to press a button each time, is that right? Are we able to revolve this round so I can access it? I've just seen there are some folks standing at the back. May I first of all just ask, are you involved? Are you part of? And who have we got? I'm just trying to work out who's part of and who isn't part of. Alright, so this is about you. I'm doing a bit of talking. It's not about me. It's about you and the topic, the subject matters that we are looking at, we're exploring. Now, my topic is assessing, so we're just going to go back, if you don't mind, assessing 21st century skills and beyond traditional metrics. Now, I was given that title, and I was thinking, okay, what does that actually mean? What are we going to break it down to? I've seen the programme for the rest of the day, and I know there's going to be formative assessment, I know there's going to be assessment for inclusion, and I think there's going to be a thing about assessment trends across the world, globally, as well as locally. So I'm going to actually try and pitch this at a fairly philosophical approach, because, and I'm going to be absolutely honest with you, I'm not going to give you much tangible takeaway, but hopefully some food for thought about what assessment is for, why we do it, how we do it, and so on. So, to start the day off, we'll get into some nitty-gritty in the other sessions. For me, it's just a broad landscape of learning, of exploring what assessment is on the broadest plane. Thank you. But as said, I'm going to ask a little bit more about you. I'm going to ask you some clarifying questions about who you are. And hello out there in digital land. Obviously, it's going to be difficult to interact, but you are my captive audience, so you have no choice. First of all, who are direct interfacing teachers on a day-to-day basis? Hands up if you are in the classroom each day. Okay. 3 here. Who is in primary? 2? Okay. Anyone in early years? Okay, early years. And secondary? Okay. So we've got a range of people. So I'm not going to really go into the traditional metrics of early years, primary or secondary. It's going to be broader than that. But I hope that you will ask me some questions, and I'm going to be trying to go for, keep to my timing of 50 minutes. But this is not just me talking. This is about you engaging with each other and bouncing some thoughts and ideas off each other as well. So next one, please. And as such, there is a warning that comes with this. The warning is that this is interactive. So I'm going to need you to come forward and sit here. I'm going to need you two to sit together. I'm going to need you two to sit together. And perhaps possibly if you come and sit with this lady. And if we get any others coming in, can you either welcome them to your pair, or for us to have just so you can have 3 to have a discussion. The warning is that I'm going to introduce you to a thing called Project Zero. Project Zero is by the Harvard School of Education, and they have their thinking routines. Now, we use the thinking routines at Charterhouse, Lagos, and they are there, funnily enough, to get you thinking. They're to churn the grey matter. They're to get you to think, to talk to each other, to share, because that is what this, as a CPD, professional learning environment, should be about, not just listening to my voice. Okay, next one, please. Okay, let's just get the introduction over and done with. My background is that I have been in education for nearly 40 years. I know I don't look like it, but I have. I started young and was very fortunate to spend 10 gap years, as my mother would call them. I did activity instructing in informal settings. I did expeditions to Borneo and Iceland and Australia and Mexico, all in formal educational contexts where I was given groups of students and I was told to go and play in some dangerous part of the world. All very, very character development, personal development based experiences. I then decided to grow up and become a proper teacher, and I've worked in the UK independent prep school world for the last 25 years. In actual fact, that's not true, because I spent the last 4 years before coming to Nigeria working in the Cayman Islands in the Caribbean, being a primary school there. My experience is predominantly with primary schools, prep schools, so the younger age bracket. But obviously, I've had a lot of interaction with schools which are talking about secondary. Is everything okay? We'll just have a little wait. Yes, I'm the guinea pig of the day. Okay, so I'm going to ask some questions to come out with you. We're going to be talking about assessment within a broader context. So I'm going to ask you to do a think, pair, share process, which is one of the thinking routines from Project Zero. You've probably heard it before. Think, pair, share. But let's get this process right, because it's not just about rambling through and jumping to the answer. Let's use that thinking time properly. The question is, what is the core purpose of education? So I'm going to literally give you a minute, 60 seconds, thinking time. Stare at the ceiling, stare at the walls, look at your notepads. Think, what is the core purpose of education? I'm seeing some people write furiously down on their paper. I'm seeing some people just staring thoughtfully into the middle ground. That's it. Time is up. Could you please now turn to the person next to you and in your pair, and then just say, what have you thought about in terms of the core purpose of education? Just in your pairs. Exchange, please. Right, okay, we're going to do a couple of these think pair shares and a couple of other thinking routines. But for now, if you think about it, think, pair, share. Now, well, you're still in pair mode, but let's bring it back. Now, I'm going to challenge you, a little bit of retrieval practice from literally seconds ago. I'm going to ask one from each pair to share with the rest of us what the other person said. So, from each pair, either point to the other person saying you're doing it, but one of you be brave enough to share what the other person said. Just summarise, not a long thing, but just summarise. What do they think the core purpose of education is? Who's going first? There we go. Thank you. Good morning. What did Kate say?
Kate said the purpose of education should be to develop and harness the full potential of the child so that the child can be useful to himself as well as society.
Okay, thank you. Lovely succinct. Right. Okay, who's going to go? Who's been volunteered? You have. Good morning. Just share what your colleagues said.
So you said the purpose of education is transformation.
Transformation. Okay, even more succinct. I like it. What have we got here?
So, good morning once again, everybody. So, what he said is that the purpose of education is to make an individual better and empowered to live a better life.
Thank you. Thank you. Right, who's going to volunteer here?
All right. So, good morning again, everyone. So, you said that the call or the main purpose of education is a growth mindset, which to grow, so growth mindset, you know, to change your mindset.
All right. Thank you for that. I'm keen to have the slides if at all possible. Because there was one word which I didn't hear. Core purpose of education. Did anyone actually use the word learning?
No.
Well done, you did. Okay, we have. Maybe we should do word bingo. And said learning, because well done, you've scored a point. Right, so I'm going to be contentious and suggest a few things as we're talking. And I'm going to suggest that education is fundamentally about learning. And there's a process to it. But hold on a minute. What is learning? Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. What is learning? And if you think, where's he going with this? Because he should be talking about assessment. We'll get there. But what is learning? You've got 30 seconds now to exchange what you think learning actually is. Alright, 30 seconds are up. Now I'm going to, whether you like it or not, I'm going to pick on the other person. Okay? It may be that the other person was saying all the good words, but I want the other person to stand up and say, what was the question?
What is learning?
What is learning? Okay, Katie, your turn, please.
Katie, your turn. I'm waiting for you. Okay, for me, I think what she said. What she said.
Yeah. Okay. What did your partner say?
It's a process of acquiring knowledge and bringing about a changing somebody's behavior. So it has whether it's important, a changing.
So acquiring knowledge. I think she was saying about acquiring knowledge. Okay. And a couple of things. What do we have from this page?
Good morning, everyone. Learning is the process of acquiring
Alright, I'm getting an image of someone walking through a corridor of life and someone just giving them, so acquiring knowledge. Okay, thank you for that knowledge. Okay, walking on, thank you for that knowledge. Okay, acquiring knowledge. Okay, let's go with that. What did we have on this table?
Yeah, so she was just very direct, saying that learning is changing behavior.
Change in behavior. Like it. What have we got here?
We have what I've said.
Oh, they beat to it. Okay.
That shows that learning is a process of moving from an unknown state or unable state to a known and stable state.
Known and able state. Okay, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Because there's change of behavior and you're inferring a change from one state to another. I'm just going to go through, this is a phrase from Kirchner et al. In 2006. Learning is a change in long-term memory. Now this comes from, whether it's Willingham or Rosenshine, thank you. The whole science of learning is that we know that we have short-term memory and we know that we have long-term memory. Now, if you're my age, then the short-term memory is ever decreasing. In fact, so is the long-term memory. But if it goes into long-term memory, it is there to stay. You think about the things that you learned when you were young. To walk, to breathe, to get on a bike, to do all those things. And there's a reason why I say it's like getting back on a bike. Because once you've learned them, they are in there, and you can pick them up again. But this whole process of learning, changing it from short-term to long-term, is what learning is scientifically. But again, it's about the change, isn't it? So if learning is that important target, core purpose of education, then assessment is the bridge between teaching and learning. Because how are you as a practitioner, professional, going to know that the student in your duty of care has taken that knowledge or skill or understanding or that bit of pastoral personal development? How do you know that they have actually taken it from short-term memory, because they've done it once, and logged it in long-term memory? How do you know? That is by doing the appropriate assessment. Okay. Thank you. All right, on to the next one, please. So, traditional assessment. Again, last time we'll do think, compare, share. I'm going to ask you to write down or discuss 5 words. Just off the top of your head, so you've actually got 20 seconds this time. I'll tell you when to start. 20 seconds. I want 5 terms or phrases or words to do with assessment. 1, 2, 3, go. And there you go, time up. So, I'm going to just basically take the notes from the hecklers. I've only got a biro, so, but let's go here. Please, let's just go for it. What do you have over there? Tests? Yeah. Assignments, okay. Quizzes, excellent. Thank you. Quizzes, yeah. Homework, okay. Now you will be able to assess and evaluate that my next steps needs to be do better handwriting, but that's okay. Take them back. Yes, please. What did you have? Anything to add to these? Exams. I'm just going to shorthand and go for exams. Spell it right. Okay. What else have we got?
We have evaluation.
Say again. Evaluation.
Yeah.
Is that a thing or is that? Well, right now. It's a process rather than a thing. Yeah. What have we got on this table then?
We have measurements.
Measurements. Oh yes. Got to measure. I'm going to just write measure for short. Yes, anything else?
Test.
Test, got test.
Okay, we have Bloom's taxonomy.
Bloom's
Taxonomy.
Just
we have
to
higher order thinking. Higher order thinking.
higher order thinking. So hot, I just put that as hot.
We have lot. Lot. Lower order thinking.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay, this table.
Check.
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 Okay.
And then to aid, like assist.
Okay. All right. Well, listen. You know what? We could go on for a long time. Hello.
I just wanted to add something I have. Gauging learning.
Gauging learning. Okay. So that is the essence. Gauge. How do we spell gauge? Right, okay, so hopefully you have evaluated that my handwriting is poor and I write poorly even worse under pressure. But let's just actually move forward to, if I'm able to, just a little bit. Okay, so we have tests, right? Someone wrote examinations, results and scores. You actually went through the process. Measure and check. We use verbs and to gauge. This is a verb. So you were looking at assessment in terms of verbage, okay, of doing. And then there are a couple of things. These are, in some people's minds, these are outcomes of assessment. The UK secondary world uses GCSEs or IGCSEs and A-levels. But then if you want to look at, I know there's going to be a session on formative assessment, hopefully the session then on assessment trends will actually contend that formative and summative assessments are actually almost an outdated concept because things have moved ahead with adaptive teaching. Now the next one please. So next one, what is assessment for? Let's go to the next one please. If that is traditional assessment, let's just go back to this one. No, we're going to drop all. Okay, here we go. I think it's really important to say that I'm absolutely standing on the shoulders of others, and I have begged, borrowed, and stolen lots of key phrases about assessment and 21st century skills from other people. At Charterhouse Lagos, we are working very closely with evidence-based education, which is a really quite fantastic setup for professional learning to ensure that teachers, practitioners are really on more point. Sorry, I see. Assessment, according to the great teaching toolkit done by evidence-based education, is to inform the learning and teaching process. If assessment is done well, that is what it should be for. The high quality assessment obviously provides the teachers with the information so that their teaching can be adaptive. Now, differentiation may come out at one stage or another, but again, in terms of debated and argued, and ultimately we've moved on from the word of differentiation, because really what is really impactful for students in the classroom is when teaching is adapted as a result of seeing what the children have been learning and what has gone into long-term memory. If something's gone into long-term memory, why are you doing the same activity in the next lesson? You should have said, right, they got 10 out of 10. I won't do the number values like that again. We can move on. At the same time, they got 5 out of 10. There are 5 areas of number values that we need to go through again. Then, before you adapt to the next lesson, it informs the next thing. But ultimately, any assessment that you do generates the opportunity for you to feed back to your students. Now, how do you feed back? Verbally, in writing, and however you feed back. But this is probably the most profound thing that I think the educational landscape needs to take on board. It is not about improving the work. It is about improving the students' learning. Because if they know A and B at one stage, and they can then write down A and B really nice and beautifully presented, that's really nice. If they haven't moved on to A, B, C, and D in the next period of learning, how has it moved forward? It's about them actually taking on the learning process themselves. It's about improving the student. So, let's move on, because ultimately what I'm keen on is looking at the 21st century as a context for what we actually do. And let's start off with this wonderfully vague picture. Does that look like any of your students? Not really, no. But let's just summarize that. There's a word that is increasingly used in education. I'm going to ask a survey. How many of you describe or have described your teaching or the learning that your teaching enables as holistic? How many have done that? I think, much like assessment, the word holistic education is one of the most misused or disused, or just, it's one of those words out there which we don't know what it means. I'm going to offer a Robin Davies simple version of it. I think that holistic divides our students into two. And that's certainly how we approach it in a school. The first is obviously the academics, where typically, please go back. The first is the knowledge, skills and understanding that the children get from their lessons. Now, the UK curriculum is traditionally, it's reputably knowledge-rich, and it makes no apologies for that. When the new national curriculum in the UK came into place in 2014, Mr. Michael Gove, who was then the Education Secretary, drove the knowledge-rich curriculum. That's what he wanted. He wanted everyone to know. I want you to know this. And ever since, there has been this yo-yo conversation, battle of which is more important, knowledge or skills. And as a sort of a latecomer to the party, understanding is there as well. So does a child have knowledge of the subject? Do they have the skills? Do they have the understanding, which ultimately is about application of the knowledge and the skills to a new setting, a new environment? So that's what I class as the academics. It's interesting actually because the OECD, which is, I can't even say what it stands for, it's a global enterprise. You must have heard of the OECD, and they generate the PISA tests, the international PISA tests. They have suggested that we should change understanding for knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values, which is a nice development, because values, do we teach values? Where does morality and values actually come into the knowledge, skills, and understanding? It's a bit of an outlier, but I'm always very keen on just elaborating. Anyway, for now, knowledge, skills, and understanding. The other side, the flip side of it, if we want to be nice and simplistic, is pastoral. And ultimately, the huge, never-ending capacity of one human being. What are all those different aspects of a single person's personal development? Personal development is huge. Where does it end? Relationships, being healthy, the capacity to be brave, develop characters of your own character, to be your own individual. With 8 billion, approaching 9 billion people on the planet, that's a lot of personal development. But have we defined it? And then maybe we've tried to define it under the umbrella of the phraseology of life skills. And again, simplistically putting it, these are the hard skills, and those are the soft skills. And if you've been involved in any debate or discussion about holistic education, you will have heard those phrases, hard skills, but more and more and more coming to the table, soft skills. If you look at the various business associations, employer associations, increasingly reports are coming back that employers are, of course, wanting to see students or potential candidates for grades, but they're actually wanting to see that they've got the capacity to communicate. They've got the capacity to relate. So we go back to the life skills. Okay? So the reason why I'm putting this here is because within my remit, this isn't necessarily traditional, what we put down here, tests. Right, I'm going to test you now on your communication skills. I'm going to give you an examination on your ability to relate to someone. It's very, very different. Next one. So, interestingly enough, there is a test. If any of you are familiar with the GL assessment suite, I am not on a commission, I'm not doing a sales pitch for them, by the way. They are doing very well themselves. They are one of many organisations, companies, that have gone global with their suites of education. I talk about it here just because we use it. I've used it before and we're going to use it. They do cognitive ability tests, they do progress tests for English, maths and science. But on the other side, for personal development, they do the PASS test. Does anyone know what PASS stands for in this context?
People's attitude to self-answer.
Self in school. When I first saw this, it must have been sort of 8 or 9 years ago, I thought, this is revolutionary. This is going to be great. And in actual fact, one of the schools that I was working with at that stage, I met with the school counsellor, and she said that the school were just rolling out the PASS test for the students, and they were going through the results. They were looking at where the red flags are. And the school counsellor, who I rate as one of the greatest school counsellors I've worked with, she knew all the children. Not just the ones that she engaged with, but she knew all the children in the school. She looked at the data and she says, that's taught me something about the students I work with. Because no matter how much in question, and the way that this test was run. She said, yeah, I've learned something new. It has added to my assessment, my understanding of the children I work with on a personal level, because it really has come in from the students. There's 50 statements that they have to address during the 20 or 30 minute assessment. It's all online. And just there are 9 domains to it, whether it's feelings about school, your attitudes to teachers, that's always a worrying one for teachers to look through. Then there's their own personal capacity, how they perceive they are as a learner, and whether they think they are confident in their learning. And then attitudes to school, whether they are good in attendance. It's a really, really good, but not definitive capture of students. I think that's probably one of the messages from this morning's session, is that none of these assessments are definitive. Because when you're dealing with that child, they are an endless, ever-changing, from day to day, little creature. They are, and they will bring something new to the table, new to the school every single day. So a little moment in time will change the next day. And that's kind of a caveat on everything we say. Thank you. So let's dig into 21st century. There you go, you've got a phrase on the board. We're not doing think, pair, share. We're going to do see, think, wonder. Now, I would show you a picture, but in actual fact, no picture can capture what 21st century is. It's a phrase. We've all heard it, we all hear it every single day. But you see it, what do you think, and what do you wonder? Okay? So, please, 1 minute. What do you think when you hear the phrase, or see the phrase 21st century? And what do you wonder? So, in essence, 2 sentences. 1 minute, share it, discuss it, and then write a sentence. What do you see? Sorry, what do you think? And what do you wonder? 1 minute. Make sure you're balancing your contributions. Great stuff. All right, good people, thank you. And we're back in the room. I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind, just bring it together. What do you think and wonder, all in one? So I'll ask one person from each table. Anyone from this table? Go on then. What do you think and wonder? And perhaps, if by chance this person steals your thunder, then let them steal it. Just saying, yeah, we're going to say that. Okay.
Okay. What we see and think when we hear the phrase 21st century is a wide range of possibilities.
Okay, possibilities.
Yes. And then we wonder, what's next? What are we going to hear about next? Where are we going? What's the
Okay, all right. Sit down before they start heading. Thank you. Okay, when she said, what's next? What's next? Okay, let's not elaborate too much on this, because 21st century, the word that you wrote down here first was modern. Okay, modern, the now. Yeah, we're about to be in the finishing off the first quarter of the 21st century. You think about it, 2025. I'm working on the basics here, that we are nearly through a quarter of the 21st century. But my goodness, what was it like 25 years ago when we were all worried about the millennium bug? And we flipped over to 2000s and we all had to write our dates really different in 1990. But now we're 2024, going into 2025. How much has changed then? What is going to happen? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to ask two areas of this. Thank you. Let's explore two things. Sorry,
I just wanted to share something from the people online.
Oh, yes,
Question
please.
about what you think when you hear 21st century.
Yes.
So that they feel good. They said technology.
No, sorry, first second.
They said technology, and they said digitalization.
Okay. Now, they have stolen my Thank you out there in the virtual world. Okay, let's look at 21st century skills, and then let's look at 21st century challenges. I am actually realizing that right at the beginning, just as we were getting technology online here, I didn't conclude my introduction of me and where I'm working. So I'm just going to backtrack quickly. My experience in UK prep schools, being a school leader for 15 years, and internationally, and I've always been interested in that little bit extra for the student. My background on expeditions and personal challenge activity courses has always made me think, what else can that student be, and how can they own their own ambition? So that's where I've come from. I've got a really, really just ongoing commitment to the holistic, academic and pastoral. So I'm working as head of primary at Charterhouse, Lagos, and should introduce John, who's I don't know whether you're going to get the chance to introduce yourself or be introduced, but John is the director of Charterhouse, Lagos. We're over in Agombo. We have got the most stunning campus. It is breathtaking to work in on a daily basis, but what's even more breathtaking for me, to be completely selfish, is that I wake up in the morning with a brand new curriculum. Now, we talk about the fact that we are a British education. We are largely based on an English national curriculum. I think it's really funny, some people talk about the new national curriculum. It's 10 years old. But we work with the English national curriculum, obviously core English and maths. But then because there is no such thing as a true English school working abroad, because it has to cherry pick the very best from around the world. And we've done that because alongside English and maths, we teach the international primary curriculum. Now this is the most fantastic program of study, which basically on a unit, inquiry-based unit format, delivers history, geography, culture locally, culture internationally. It is to die for. I wanted it. I had my first headship 15 years ago, and the governors of the school all know it's a bit too radical. 15 years later, I've got it, and the teachers are delivering it. It is sensational. It's great. It's difficult, and it has to be planned within an inch of its life to be as impactful for the children. Before I talk about the international layer on top of the English national curriculum, we also do STEM, but we're fortunate in that we're developing an association with the New York Academy of Sciences, because the STEM delivery in the US is probably a little bit more advanced, a little bit more dynamic than in the UK. The UK is still quite emerging. And so therefore we have makerspace opportunities, and we have cutting edge, Scratch, Python, HTML, coding opportunities for our students, robotics, and so we want to be innovative at all times. We do Chinese or French in terms of modern foreign languages. We do arts and sports and music. But to be honest, the most exciting curricular strand that we've got is Nigerian and African studies. Because we talk about being British International School, you can't truly assimilate international without having your feet firmly grounded where you're living. So we want a local agenda, we want an international agenda. And the hour a week that our students do, in year 1 and 2, they do Lekki and Lagos. In year 2, in year 3, they move up to Western Africa. Year 4, Northern Africa. And it's contextualized history and geography and culture, the richness of culture across 54 African countries. Wow. Our ambition is high, and the planning is accordingly enriching. So, but I wanted to go on to that because the skills that we talk about for the 21st century are not the knowledge or the understanding that we talked about, they're about the life skills. I'm just going to show you, so the next one. Unfortunately, it's not come out so well. My MBA in Educational Leadership, International, which I finished in 2020, whenever I finished in 2018, long time ago. My dissertation was what constitutes the best curriculum for the 21st century. Oh, what a dream. And my conclusion was, there isn't one. Because it has to be contextual to the setting. What a cop-out. You know, that was, quite frankly, very lazy of me. But because one of the best things that I did was that I actually did a survey, a lot of reading review of what people considered the skills to be for the 21st century. And if you just Google 21st century skills, you will get the 4 C's. That was from Project 21, critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity. And if you're not hearing the 4 C's in amongst it, and they funny enough, Wagner in 2008, the British Columbia, the Canadian Ministry of Education, they've got it, the same words are all in here, but they've just titled them as competencies. Much the same as the Singapore Ministry of Education, the competencies that students or human beings will need to thrive in the 21st century. So it's quite easy to come back to the 4 C's, and quite frankly, Project 21 did a really good PR job, because we all remember 4 C's, don't we? And getting to 5 or 6 things we start forgetting. And they've also got C's, so we typically get them right. So those are the 21st century skills, or a brief look into them. You will find thousands and thousands of representations. Now, if someone's done some work, I think these are the most important. And if I was to ask you what the top 5 skills for the 21st century, you'd have a lot of similarities, probably including the 4 C's, but there would be a couple of outliers because of your personal preference. Again, for the different settings, your school to my school, we will have different objectives for our students. But I just want to share with you, at Charterhouse Lagos, because we do the IPC, the International Primary Curriculum, part of the process is that they have, and they project 8 personal learning goals. And every unit focuses on a learning goal. So you can be empathetic, ethical, resilient, adaptable. You can be a collaborator. You can be respectful, you can be a thinker or a communicator. The IPC framework holds these as the most important learning goals, personal learning goals. So these are the skills and the life skills that the students are deemed to need the most. Now we've actually had them put into these little stickers, a sticker for each one. We've got rolls of stickers. So if a child in year 2 really struggling with maths, in actual fact they dug deep for the second time this week, and they demonstrated resilience. Thank you. I'm going to be wrapping up soon. They dug deep, so they get their resilience sticker. In terms of assessment, they get feedback that they are being recognised for their efforts. It's a very positive frame of mind. Okay, thank you. Next one. Just going to wrap up with the challenges of the 21st century. The challenges of the 21st century are, please do go through to the end, there's 5 of them. This, by research and just by listening to the news, we know that sustainability, technology, future work opportunities, because all of these things are hugely mobile and volatile fields, morality and well-being. Our assessment and therefore our curriculum and our programs of study need to have this. Now, I could and I would love to go through character, but much like 21st century skills, there's another hour in that. So in essence, I'm going to bring it, record short here, and I'm just going to ask just to consider a summary. Can you go down to the very last page, please? That one there. Sorry? That one? Okay. I'm going to ask you, please, this is another Project Zero thinking routine. I used to think, now I think. Okay, so we've had about barely 50 minutes together, and hopefully there's just 1 or 2 doors opening in terms of mind. You used to think about assessment for the 21st century, and now what do you think? Let's have 1 minute on that, please. What did you used to think about assessment for the 21st century? What do you think now? Is there anything you could take away from this that isn't tangible? Time up. But because you were midway through an explanation, I'm going to ask you to stand up. One of your tables to stand up. What did you used to think? And can I ask one of you to stand up and share? What did you used to think?
Is it regarding the past? About assessment. Assessment.
For the 21st century.
What I used to think. So what I used to think about assessment generally is that assessment is about testing and evaluating. However, in the 21st century, it is more than that, right? It is more about feedback, and the purpose is broad actually, but it is to inform learning, as I said earlier, and it is to diagnose students' learning. So it has gone past the days of just scoring students. It has come to these days of where we improve students through feedback.
Okay, so it's got more of that. May I ask one of you to share?
Hi everyone again. So basically we both shared the same outlook on what we thought it was and what we were now thinking it was. So to cap it, using what I wrote down, I said I used to think assessment was definitive, like I said, but now I just know that it is not. It's about the students and not the work.
So it was definitive, now it's more broader, and just this, thank you, that's perfect. This is a gentleman called Gavin McCormack. He's an edu influencer. Now, a person of my age, I can't even say that phrase, let alone understand what it is. But ultimately, he's got a big name on the social media circle. And I've just highlighted a couple of sentences from him. It's clear that traditional exams and textbooks aren't always enough. Offering alternative ways for students to show what they've learnt is the way ahead. That helps students connect more deeply with their learning, and therefore it's about building more flexible curriculums. I'm going to, without wanting to scare you, I'm just going to leave you with this. This is his work, and there are 100 ways of delving into a child's learning. And they're contextualised, and I hope this can be circulated afterwards, but this can be contextualised through visual representations, so students can do comic strips. My son doodled and created comic strips, and he did some of his best Year 6 science work through the medium of comics. And he did amazingly because the teacher was receptive to him expressing his knowledge of science in that way. Going on written work, of course, newsletter, magazines, well, you all know how many different genres there are for writing. Let's group activities, debate, all the way down to Moral United Nations. Artistic expression, whether it's sand art, metalwork, it's looking at all the different street art, different media. Let's just leave this room with the idea that assessment, yes, it can have its core educational academic focus. A lot of parents just want to see those grades. Our role as educators is to look after the whole child, and that involves looking after the personality and the humanity within. Okay? So I thank you for your time. That is timing. With thanks to John for the prompt. 1 minute ahead of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Do we have questions? Questions, contributions, motivation? Yes, I have. Any questions? I don't think I have my teacher voice. Okay, anyone? Okay.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Robbie, for the presentation. Okay, my question goes it was a question that was posed online on assessment. A child was given 100 questions to answer. The child answered 40 within time, just 40, and scored 39 out of the 40. What do you think about it? Should the child be scored down because he wasn't able to to answer the 100 questions, or should the child be scored based on the 30 questions?
Within the context of what I'm talking about, assessment of the 21st century, what you're talking about is a core school academic evaluation. And so therefore it's right at the very nubbin of our academics. I've talked much broadly about other things. The golden rule for any assessment is that it has to be absolutely purposeful. And so therefore, if you're giving a child 100 questions, is that serving the purpose? Can you get the answers or the summary of the child's learning from 50? We are obsessed with the negative impositional aspects of assessment, but we don't give it any consideration. So I would say 100 questions, why are you doing that to the child? And ultimately this is a leadership question in your school, because you've got to look after, all your decisions should be predicated on what are in the best interests of the student. Can I learn more about the child's learning through less? The answer will predominantly be yes. Don't over-assess your children.
That's it. You have your answers? She was your partner, wasn't she? Kate, did you get your answer?
Yes, I got
it. Okay. Any other question?
contribution. Okay. Thank you so much, Robert. So let me see, you're in the early years, right? Can you give Robin a special clap? I know there's a way you do it in the early years. Can you do that? Show us how to do it.
We do this.
Okay.
Let's roll for Robin.
Kate.
We go, let's roll for Robin, and then we go, roll, let's go. You are great, and your future is bright.
Wow. Let's do it again. So,
let's go. You are great, and your future is bright.
I'm just confirming my
there needs to be that confirmation. Thank you so much. Well done for that. Okay, very quickly before we go on tea break, we have John Talk, the director for Charterhouse Lagos. He was supposed to be in the panel session later in the day, but he has to leave. So we're not going to let him go like that. So he's going to come up here and give us his own contribution towards the topic. Thank you.
So just to follow on from what Robin said, one of the big challenges I think of schools, and it's worse here, is exams. Why do we do these exams? Because we want our children to get into the best university. My youngest daughter is still in school in the UK, and she's in one of the best possible schools in London, so that her exam results will be good, so that she will get into the best university. So part of our challenge of schools is parents send them to us because they want their children to do well. And when they think they're doing well, that means getting into universities, because if we get into the best universities, the myth goes they will get the best jobs and then they'll have a job for life. Of course, we know that's not true. We do know that's not true. But still, I'm an educator, and I've put my daughter in the best school to get the best exams. So that goes into our high schools. And what then happens is this goes all the way down. If you look here, we've got schools that focus in year 6 on just passing exams. We had a child join us the other week because they were in year 6 in what I thought was a really good school, and the parents have just been told all we're going to do this year is work to help them pass their year 7 exams. And I just thought, well, what a waste of a year. If you go to London, that happens in about year 1 or year 2, because they need to get into their prep school. So all the schools are doing is training kids to pass exams. So we use GCSE and IGCSE. You're using WIAC, NECO, GCE. And of course, we threw that out in about 1980 because it was so old-fashioned. It doesn't test skills, it really just tests knowledge. So a lot of what you're doing is directed by what your high schools need to pass exams, and that runs down your school for a system that the rest of the world threw out 45 years ago. Now, some of you are doing GCSEs, but the majority of you are doing WIAC and NECO, which is a very knowledge-focused system. And then you can just go back to anyone that works not in a school and say, so how useful was it to learn long division? How many times have you been asked to define osmosis? Most of us probably in your work outside, how many of you can define Newton's three laws of motion? We all can. how useful is it to us? And so I think one of the big challenges of schools today is, you know what, you have to get those exam results. Because if you don't, the kids will go somewhere else. And whatever anyone tells you, schools are also businesses. Okay? It is a business. And I said to someone the other day, I'm not really a teacher anymore, I'm in charge of the business. Business is I do employ teachers. I used to be a teacher. But I look after a business. So we do have to get those results. Let's not pretend otherwise you're not in school. The challenge for you, for all of us, is how can we add those extra bits on? How can we make sure that in getting those exams, we do think about things like morality and ethics. And I can't say anything political. But how do we? Because I know you can go out, you can buy results. We know that's a reality. But what is it you say to your children when you give them that option? What is it a teacher says about themselves when they accept a gift from a parent? Of course, that child will do very well. What messages are we giving? So, I want to say, I think we can still get those results even if we don't like the system. We don't like the system that we have. This year is work to help them pass their Year 7 exams. And I just thought, well, what a waste of a year. If you go to London, that happens in about Year 1 or Year 2 because they need to get into their prep school. So all the schools are doing is training kids to pass exams. So we use GCSE and IGCSE. You're using WIAC, NECO, GCE, and of course we threw that out in about 1980 because it was so old-fashioned. It doesn't test skills, it really just tests knowledge. So a lot of what you're doing is directed by what your high schools need to pass exams, and that runs down your school for a system that the rest of the world threw out 45 years ago. Now, some of you are doing GCSEs, but the majority of you are doing WIAC and NECO, which is a very knowledge-focused system. And then you can just go back to anyone that works not in a school and say, so how useful was it to learn long division? How many times have you been asked to define osmosis? And most of us probably in your work outside, how many of you can define Newton's 3 laws of motion? We all can. How useful is it to us? And so I think one of the big challenges of schools today is, you know what, you have to get those exam results. Because if you don't, the kids will go somewhere else. And whatever anyone tells you, schools are also businesses. Okay? It is a business. And I said to someone the other day, I'm not really a teacher anymore, I'm in charge of the business. I do employ teachers. I used to be a teacher. But I look after a business. So we do have to get those results. Let's not pretend otherwise you're not in school. The challenge for you, for all of us, is how can we add those extra bits on? How can we make sure that in getting those exams, we do think about things like morality and ethics. And I can't say anything political. But how do we? Because I know you can go out, you can buy results. We know that's reality. But what is it you say to your children when you give them that option? What is it a teacher says about themselves when they accept a gift from a parent? And of course that child will do very well. What messages are we giving? So I want to say I think we can still get those results even if we don't like the system. We don't like the system that we have. And it's more modern because it doesn't give children the skills they need because we just don't use this stuff in real life. But how can we develop all those other things? How do we get them to think about those drivers that Robin had before? Sustainability. What am I going to do with my life? The future of work. The whole business around really what kind of a person am I? Because for many of our children, for many of our families, school defines character. You build the type of person. So the way you deliver that curriculum, like it or don't like it, the way you deliver it actually helps to form character, which maybe will make a difference in the long term. You may be educating the next governor. You may be educating the next president. And that piece you do when you say, no, that is not how we operate. We have standards, we have ethics as professionals. Maybe that will make a difference to them. So I think you can balance both, even if you don't like what happens, but please think of the child, the character and the influence that you know you have on their lives in the long term. Thank you.
I have a question for you. I have a question. Thank you so much. I particularly like the bit about how we deliver the curriculum. I like that part. I want to ask, we're living in this world where, technology and everything, we have children who are less than 16 years old. They have YouTube channels. They are cashing out online. They have.
I'm trying still.
Yeah. So my question is, how do we make education, learning, all of those things? How do we make it attractive? Yes.
What's wrong with that? Why is that not learning?
I would say it's not.
Because what are the? You look at an economy like Lagos. It's mostly informal. I mean, this is one of the few countries in the world where GDP has gone down for 20 years in a row. Now that is an achievement. So what kind of skills do we need for many of our children? Being an entrepreneur. So my oldest daughter did a slime business at school. You could pick any colour, texture. My house was full at the time of vats of this slime. And I kept funding this and she kept pocketing income. And I said, hang on, no. Spreadsheets, she was about 13 or 14, spreadsheet, calculate how much you need, including the postage, cost of delivery of all the different stuff. Still ended up paying. But how much are you going to give me back? Because I'm not going to keep funding this. So when we've got children doing things like that, then for me, I think we should say, wow, that is really good. Sadly, her school at the time said, no, you shouldn't be doing business in school. And I'm thinking, well, as a life skill, wow, I wish I could have that much pocket money. My wife said no. So I think we have to look at a lot of those things and say, so we can apply those masks around ethics and things like that. Now, if the kid is doing something honest, then why not say, hey, what are you doing? Can you tell us about it? Are you making money from it? If so, how much? Will you share it? Will you give us a lesson here on how to do this in a really good way? So that actually brings it into the mainstream classroom.
Thank you so much. I want you to I mean, okay. had to drop magnesium, you clean all of those things. And today I didn't do anything with it. Absolutely
Just
nothing.
spray them now.
I'm still working, there's no application, nothing. So I really think we need to get to that point where, like he said, the curriculum might not have changed, but the way we deliver it and the way we equip the students to meet, to be able to thrive in the world we're in. Thank you so much once again. Round of applause.
I know John wants to run.
Yeah.
You know, like he said, he used to be a teacher. But he's not a business leader. I can imagine if you can deliver what is on in about, you can start about probably 5 years or 6 years ago. And from the day, I think even before a site was chosen, planning and all of that, and trying to bring everything together, then ensuring that you deliver that kind of project, it's massive. So you can't just be a teacher, you have to move from the right side of the quadrant, probably to the left side of the quadrant, according to Robert Kiyosaki. You understand? That's a movement.
Yes.
You understand? The private Lord, I've seen it physically, but right inside of him, he has moved. You understand? And I know, and leaders are going to solve problems. So there's another problem waiting for you. He wants to go and solve. So as he's talking about assessment, he's thinking about how will I solve this. But let me just say one or two things to appreciate him and love him. Like I always say, I met John when I was still a small boy. Yes, it was his first advent in Nigeria, right? Green Springs in Lagos there. And he's been, I just love the fact that he's consistent in terms of delivering knowledge, you understand, and supporting initiatives and all of that. And even for the first edition of Ireland, he has provided support.
Yeah.
You understand? I remember that first I told you, we are hosting, he said, okay, I should be back in Nigeria in September. I said, are you going back to Green? He said, no, there's another project coming up. First year it was there, second year it brought Charterhouse.
Yes.
Third year,
This year.
And I think a couple of weeks ago, sent me a mail where we were discussing and we thought Robin is in the best position to deliver this and not myself. And that's the hallmark of the leader.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
Instead of him saying, yes, I've been a teacher for this, I can deliver this and all of that, pass the baton to Robin. And I'm like, fantastic, there's no that old man. The early years and also long years of experience that I've met that Robin. Apart from Barbara Foster's husband, to do the same. Barbara used to be head at Lagos Preparatory School. John Foster. He used to teach primary 4 early years when the wife leads Lagos Preparatory School, and he did that for years. I don't know why women like teaching early years, but definitely Robin is not an old guy. So thank you very much for your support. We do appreciate. Gift packs. Okay, we'll get their gift packs. Yes. Next week we're also in Charterhouse. I hope we'll be able to stay through because of this that is happening. But if we can do Tuesday, we can do Thursday. If we can't do Tuesday, then we can do Thursday so that we give you time to solve it. But no problem. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. Please one more time. Let's do that together for John. Group photograph. Okay. Okay. No problem. Let's go for it. Quickly.
We solved it. We solved it. Oh.
Any year.
Thank you. Go behind. Yes. Okay. Everybody. Thank you. Let's smile.